like you just mentioned, you weren't just diving into straw bale homes, and you didn't think that that was the one solution fits all to all problems, but you were also an advocate, or you are an advocate for hempcrete and hemp insulation. What other products do you identify as sustainable building materials?
Um, I think that just trying to define that, is a,
It's tricky.
it's yeah, because one, I realized working with people on their designs early on that people would come to us with, this notion, I want to build a green home or a sustainable home, or, whatever overarching term they used, that could mean very different things, even though people are using the same term. So the thing that sort of came out of the building business and then got formalized at Endeavour was, we kind of came up with what we called our criteria matrix. And so we realized there are about 10 different things that people meant when they said green. For some people that was energy efficiency, for some people that was like doing the least harm to the planet and its ecosystems, for some people it was building health, so there are all these different aspects. And what we realized is, depending on how people prioritize all those different aspects of a green building, you make them a different building. So, a straw bale building was not always the solution. A hempcrete building was not always the solution. The solution was find out what mattered to the person sort of commissioning this building, find out what their most important criteria are, and then you use the materials that get you the building that does that. So, in our criteria were also things like, do you want this to be fully building code compliant, or are you willing to go through some alternative compliance, pathways?
To
You
maybe
can
get
get
a
a
more
good building out of either one of
Okay.
these, but if you don't want to take, say, the extra time or spend the extra money, or want the hassle of going down the alternative compliance path, then a straw bale building might not be for you. But if your reasons for thinking about a straw bale building were that you wanted great indoor air quality, you wanted local materials, you wanted vapor permeable wall system, like, we can also do that with dense packed cellulose insulation and a wood fiber board outside, and we can hit the same R values, and we can be non-toxic, and we can be vapor permeable, but all within being code compliant. And so, that it's sort of like a pick your own adventure book, where the kinds of choices that were most important to people end up choosing the materials. And so, for a lot of the design process for me is being sort of like the annoying 3-year-old who just always asks why. So if somebody comes to me and says, I want a straw bale house, my first thing isn't, okay, great. It's like, why? Like, what is it about that attracted you? And like, just keeping, like, every answer, I'll just do why again until it's like, okay, now we're at the root of this, and now I understand why. So now let's build back up from there to make sure that all of the choices around the design and the materials are answering those critical questions, rather than feeling like this thing does, so going for it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, like get to the core reason of why you're doing this build, and your client may not have even known the reason that they were doing this, but by you prodding them and getting to that core reason, that's how you got there. So
and it's true. Quite often, people their eyes kind of got open to criteria that they hadn't even thought about, right? Like, indoor environment quality, what's that? Like, and then once you start explaining it, they're like, yeah, of course I want a house with no toxins, but I hadn't even considered the fact that was even a problem. But now that you've mentioned it, actually, that's my number one priority, or, that's like among my top priorities, because of course I don't want chemical off-gassing in my house, or, I want really good water. I want, all those things that support my own health. So yeah, it's, letting people know what, what all those core choices are, and then let the material selections kind of flow from meeting those.